don't know if any of you've been paying attention. The news cycle is out of control, and we're both just trying to, like, keep our heads above water. But here's what we have on deck today. We're going to kick things off talking about Mike Johnson. He is blaming, you'll love this, the government shutdown on the No Kings protest, the upcoming protest. Yeah, Desmond, that was my exact reaction. And then we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little bit about some international issues. One being that the Kremlin warns of dramatic escalation as Trump mulls long-range missiles for Ukraine. This is from Democracy Now! We're going to talk about what is going on there. That has kind of been flying under the radar for sure. And speaking of which, there's a lot going on in Taiwan right now. According to the BBC, they are working to build an air defense dome against hostile threats. What does that mean, and why are they doing that right now? We're going to discuss that. And then we're going to close things out with an article from the Minnesota Reformer. And you're going to love this because I was upset when I read this for many reasons. We'll talk about that. This is a commentary that says, does Governor Walz stand with Minnesotans or with BlackRock? If Minnesota power falls into BlackRock's hands, higher bills, less accountability, and broken promises could be part of the governor's legacy. Yikes, it looks like the bloom is off that rose. But let's start things off just taking the temperature. Desmond, which story really was speaking to you out of the four of these today?
Well, it sounds like from our previous conversation that we were going to start off with the Mike Johnson story.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Do you want to kick us off with that one?
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, no, I don't want to be talking about this at all, but here we are. So this one is from the New Republic. Mike Johnson blames shutdown on No Kings protest and an absurd rant. The House Speaker is blaming the Republican-led government shutdown on Americans protesting Donald Trump. Let's all just make that make sense. So Johnson says that the No Kings rallies that are planned for next week, now is this upcoming weekend, is a Hate America rally meant to extend the government shutdown, something someone who has never been to a No Kings rally would be saying. He says, we're so angry about it. I'm a very patient guy, but I've had it with these people. They're playing games with real people's lives. He told this to Fox News late last week. He says, here's his theory. They have a Hate America rally that is scheduled for October 18th on the National Mall. And these rallies are going to be everywhere on Saturday. And you'll love this part, Desmond. It's all the pro-Hamas wing and the Antifa people. They're all coming out. Some of the House Democrats are even selling T-shirts. It's being told to us that they won't reopen the government until after the rally because they can't face their rabid base. This is serious business hurting real people. I'm beyond words. What are your thoughts and words after listening to that?
I'm also beyond words.
Yes.
So I want people to be understanding about what's happening here in this moment, which is the Republicans regularly get together. They are, unlike the Democrats, actually like a very cohesive unit. They regularly get together and they have meetings about what is going well for them and what is going wrong for them in the PR world. And whenever something's going wrong for them, they get together and they say, what kind of nonsense can we put together to shift the narrative onto something else? And they will throw anything at the wall to make something stick. And I mean anything at the wall. And this is just the latest thing. So who has the power to reopen the government? The Republicans do. At any time, anywhere, Mike Johnson says we're coming back, it's done. It's like that. He's the Speaker of the House. He has that power. Donald Trump has that power over the Republican Party as a whole. Democrats have no power. They are constantly letting us know that in several different ways. So the Republicans have all the power here. So to make it seem like this has anything to do with these protests is laughable. If anything, you would actually be better suited to handle a mass demonstration if you had the government back in at the moment. So no, it's the constant shifting of blame. What it really comes down to is the fact that there are several different reasons why they don't want to reopen the government right now. And we can kind of get into all of that here in a second. But, what this really is at the end of the day, Natalie, this is just damage control. Like, they know that this looks bad for them right now. And they are trying to find some way to shift the blame because they cannot handle the fact that the country has turned against them right now, and they don't like that. Donald Trump's ego does not like that.
Mm. Ain't that the truth? And to sort of dovetail off of what you're saying, you're right. This is total spin because of what they have done, the mess that they have created while they've been in power with the
Yeah.
presidency, with the House, and with the Senate. This is also sort of, I think, to your point, this damage control and overdrive because their messaging right now of this is all the Democrats' fault isn't working, right? They're trying to put those messages up in the TSA lines when you're waiting to go to your airport designations, and Kristi Noem's little messages are basically being denied by the airports. Right, they're refusing to play them. You have basically when I went onto the CDC's website the other day, they have listed that the reason there's no updates is because of the Democrat-led shutdown. And I started to laugh at that. And I think that's where a lot of people are. I think they're laughing at the lack of accountability and ownership that the Republicans take. But Desmond, how could they take any ownership or accountability when they have no ideas? They bring nothing to the table. They are the party of reaction, and they're trying to get a reaction because they plan no action. They want no action. They're getting exactly what they claim they wanted, which is a total destruction of our government infrastructure. And guess what? Now everybody's mad at them. So they're going to blame Antifa, apparently, which is not a thing, everybody. Just once again, it just means anti-fascism. It's not an organized group. If your grandparents fought in World War II, they would have been Antifa. So like, I hate to break it to everybody. So it's just an odd choice that he is deciding to take this stance, though. But why not, of course, because they are terrified, I think, of the No Kings rally. From what I've been reading, this is shaping up to possibly be the largest day of demonstration in the United States' history. So that's
Yeah.
interesting, too.
Yeah, I mean, what it really comes down to is the fact that Donald Trump doesn't like bad press.
Yeah,
He wants
exactly.
everyone to build statues of him. He wants everyone to like just like praise the ground he walks on. Like
Mm-hmm.
this man is literally demented in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Mike Johnson is just trying to do his his king's bidding and make sure that he goes out there and plays PR for him. But no, Antifa doesn't actually exist as an organization. It does not exist anywhere.
Right.
Everyone who actually has a brain, just not like brain rotted through Fox News, actually knows that. The ties to Hamas, once again, is absolutely ridiculous. That's just their classic spin, once again,
Mm-hmm.
because they can't actually cope with the fact, or they know the truth, but they want to make the idea prevalent that if you actually support Palestinians being alive and not being recklessly, like attacked or intentionally starved, then you actually support a terrorist group. Which, if we're going to actually talk about the definitions of terrorism, we should see how the IDF conducts itself on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole different story. So yeah, no, I'm not buying any of this from Mike Johnson. I think these are the words of a desperate man, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when he does have to bring Congress back in, because we now have the votes to get the Epstein files released.
So that was the thing I just wanted to mention right before we move on to the next topic. Once we are back in session, because like you said, this can't last forever. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think the Epstein files are actually going to be released in their totality? Do you think it'll be redacted? Do you think we're actually going to get anything that we want out of that? And I know it's just kind of an aside, but I'm
No,
curious of your thoughts.
no, I don't think so, because Trump doesn't believe in rules. He doesn't believe in laws. He doesn't believe in anything but power. And so,
Right.
like the House can vote to release the Epstein files, and I think they will. And
Mm-hmm.
then Trump will turn around and be like, I don't care.
Right. Right.
So,
Right. It's all fake
like,
news.
right. He's like, I don't care. He's like, oh, I didn't see that vote. Oh, that vote didn't happen as far as I'm concerned. Like
Right.
that's kind of the route that he'll go down. But
Mm-hmm.
when he does that, we'll all be able to rightfully point out to the fact that he is once again hiding these things that he claimed that he was going to, shine a
Right.
light on to the world. So if anything, it just weakens, his position in front of his own base, which I can't wait for that day.
That's a beautiful day when that happens. I
Yeah.
also just want to acknowledge the fact that we need to have these files released is so indicative of how much we just don't listen to women. I mean, there are now dozens of women that are saying exactly what has happened to them, and it's like not enough. It's like we have to also see it in this list, even though we've had press conferences, and so many women come forth explaining what they've experienced, and it just kind of goes to show you where we are at culturally as well. But the United States isn't the only country with problems right now, so I think
No,
we should shift our attention to what is happening internationally. Would you like to share one of the headlines that you were researching earlier today?
right. So there is an escalation going on in Ukraine right now. There
Yes.
is, we have spent a lot of time not talking about Ukraine, but
Mm-hmm.
that war has continued, and a lot of lives are being lost over in
Yeah.
Ukraine, in Russia. I think because of what's happening in Gaza, a lot of attention has
Mm-hmm.
been shifted there, and not as much has been shifted, not as much has been kind of like focused on what's happening in Ukraine. I think in a lot of ways, people kind of got tired of talking about it, which is a really horrible thing to say.
Yeah.
But just to kind of keep it just some base level knowledge here,
Mm-hmm.
the Ukrainians are not really backing down from what they've always said, which is they want to recapture all of the territory that has been taken by Russia. As of
Mm-hmm.
right now, Russia is holding strong in eastern Ukraine, known as like the Donbass region. They also have
Mm-hmm.
what is known as Crimea. It's a little peninsula down in southern Ukraine, and they've kind of held that territory, and they have told Ukraine multiple times now that if they wanted to end the war, that all they had to do was basically say that that territory that they've taken is now just Russia. And that was the deal that they've put forward onto the table. And Ukraine has said that they're not willing to give up that land. Well, Donald Trump's been trying to broker a peace deal because he really wants to be seen as a peacemaker. He also wants to be seen as somebody who's deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize. So this is really important to him. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately for him, his guy, and I have to say, this is a whole separate conversation, but I've always
Mm-hmm.
been a little weary of the more liberal media trying to make it seem like Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are actually best buds. I've personally never
Mm-hmm.
caught on to that story. I've always thought that that was a little bit of a stretch. But all the same, Vladimir
Mm-hmm.
Putin is now very upset with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is trying to force him to take this peace deal. Putin's not playing ball. And so now Trump is threatening to send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine for the express purpose of the Ukrainians being able to strike deep into Russian territory. This is because Putin does not agree to a settlement to end the war. And the Kremlin here is saying that they are expressing extreme concern because, quote, now is a very dramatic moment in terms of the fact that tensions are escalating from all sides. So, as far as the Financial Times are concerned, they are sharing intelligence to help Ukraine target more Russian energy facilities that go far beyond the front lines. According to Ukrainian officials, Russia has launched more than 3,100 drones, 92 missiles, and 1,300 glide bombs over the last week. So, Natalie, here's my thing I want to say really quickly here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There has been some worry from people here in the West that if the fighting so far has been contained inside of Ukraine, but people have been worried that if Ukraine starts striking into Russia, like into Moscow specifically,
Mm-hmm.
that that might then that might actually cause Russia to have a larger reaction. They
Sure.
haven't yet used any nuclear weapons. They have only attacked Ukraine, but they have people are worried they might attack other NATO members. Are you worried that there might be an escalation on Russia's part if we
Mm-hmm.
give Ukraine these missiles that are literally their main purpose is to strike deeper inside of Russia?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great question. I am extremely concerned because if there's one thing we know about Donald Trump, he's a terrible negotiator. He
Yeah.
doesn't know what he's doing, and I think he has dementia. So, just on that
Yeah.
basis alone, Desmond, I am very concerned. Um, on the surface, I think if you're hearing this and you don't know too much, like you said, about what has been transpiring around this issue, around this war, you might think, oh, well, it's good that Trump's going to give Ukraine these weapons. They have a right to defend themselves. We have a right to protect democracies all over the world, blah, blah, blah. And, there might have been a time where I agreed with that sentiment because I was naive and didn't know much. But having done a lot of reading around what has been going on with Ukraine and with Russia, I am very concerned because we do know Russia has the ability to really cause much wider harm than they already are. And I think they're waiting for an opportunity to do so. And I also agreed with what you were saying earlier. I have never been in the camp of Donald Trump and Putin are buddies. I think
Yeah.
Putin has something on Trump. I think there has been a blackmail game going on here for a really long time, and I think it extends much further back than very recently. So I think their relationship has been one of a mutual almost standoff with each other, where they're kind of walking around each other pretending like they're going to punch one another, but they haven't actually thrown a punch. This is starting to feel like Trump wants to throw a punch, and this feels personal to me. This, I don't really think, has much to do with Ukraine as it does with Trump being pissed off at Putin for whatever reason and trying to get back at him. So those are sort of my initial thoughts, but I don't want everything to get lost in the fact that people have been dying. People are losing family members. We have several Ukrainian refugees here in Pittsburgh. I interviewed one for a series I'm doing for WQED very recently, and we talked about what it's like to be here. And both his father and his uncle had recently been killed in action fighting for Ukraine. And I think sometimes the human impact of this gets lost. Just like you were saying earlier about our attention has been on Gaza, it can become one of those things where you've seen so much and you've seen so much destruction, you can become really numb to it. And I think it's important that we remember at the end of the day here, the level of human sacrifice that war brings. And the Ukrainians have lost so many people, and the Russians, my God, it's like those people are just expendable. Putin just keeps throwing more people at this. To me, it's just so wasteful and so awful that I would like to see Trump or whomever is in power work on de-escalation. That is part, I think, of a peace process, is the de-escalation. And right now we're only seeing an escalation. So yes, I am extremely concerned.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine there being a disescalation coming from Putin. When this war began a couple of years ago, I'm not going to spend too long here, but I think these are important details. When this war began, Putin started with like an hour-long speech that he gave to all of his people about why this was happening. Right. And he went into a lot of details about the old Russian Empire, like predating the Soviet Union, and calling Ukraine an illegitimate state, basically saying that that country should not exist. That should all be Russian territory. So he is a true believer. Like Putin wants his legacy to be that he reclaimed the Russian territory that was lost. So like, this isn't just like a power flex or just like about money for him. Like, this is actually ideological, which makes it all the more dangerous and all the less likely that it would end without some Ukrainian territory being taken on his end. I mean, that's what he wants. I think the only way that does not happen is if the Ukrainians force them out. So I don't know how much longer this is going to go on for, because someone has to blink in order for things to change on the ground over there. Unfortunately, there's another story that's kind of, without getting into an hour-long conversation just about these particular stories, these stories actually are directly linked, which is why I wanted to talk about both of them today. But there is a new air defense system being created in Taiwan. And so the Taiwanese are constructing a new multi-layered air defense system known as the T-Dome to counter hostile threats. Their president said so recently in celebrations in Taipei. So the project aims to weave a safety net with advanced detection and interception capabilities similar to Israel's Iron Dome. The initiative follows repeated warnings that China is enhancing its abilities to attack Taiwan and increasing incursions into the island's air and maritime zones. So before I get into more information about this, the basic premise here is China has said for years now that Taiwan belongs to them. They're not a separate entity, that Taiwan is just essentially like a colony of China. It belongs to them. It is their land. Taiwan has always maintained the same stance, which is like, we are separate from China. We are not actually Chinese. We are our own thing. And the United States, for several different reasons here, has always said that they back Taiwan. And they've also have a doctrine in place that says that if China ever went to mainland Taiwan and tried to take it by force, that the United States would show up and help Taiwan defend itself. Well, China has said recent years that they are going to take Taiwan, and there is nothing that anyone can do about it. So it feels like an inevitable crash course here. So Taiwan is now creating this defense system, expecting that at some point here, that China's warships and planes are going to show up to try to take the island. So that is kind of the premise of where we're at right now. No one knows when this might happen. If it's definitely going to happen, it's really all on China right now, whether or not they want to go through with this or not. But they keep telling everyone that they are going to do this at some point. So my question to you, Natalie, is should, from our perspective, from the United States' perspective, should we be worried about this potential escalation? Because it seems like Taiwan is bracing for a war. Should the U.S. be involved in this? Many presidents, Democratic and Republican, have both said over the years that they would show up if Taiwan was attacked by China. Should we be there? Is it a good thing to help the Taiwanese, or are we somewhere we shouldn't be?
I mean, we're always somewhere we shouldn't be. I mean, first of all, that's the American way. You know, that's our unofficial slogan. We're where we shouldn't be. It's almost like, do you want my idealistic answer or do you want my reality answer? Because they're not the same. You know, I wish we didn't have to be involved with places, because I wish we could go back in time and undo these threads. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it's a good thing for China to try to reclaim Taiwan, just like I don't think it's a good thing for Russia to try to reclaim what it claims is their rightful spot with the Ukraine. I also think that we are in a massive power struggle with the other two sort of global powers, so to speak, when it comes to nuclear weapons. Is it a good idea for China to be able to get its foothold in Taiwan for strategic purposes? Right now, it's very difficult to hit the United States with certain types of weapons, but as we see empires around the world try to creep further into maybe where we don't want them to be, it is very concerning. So, you know, maybe it's not the answer people are going to want to hear, but I don't see how we don't get involved at this point when if we were going to be in that position of questioning that, maybe that should have happened many, many years ago. But here we are after a series of bad decisions. And now it's like, what else can we do, Desmond? And I think that's where a lot of this remains for me, as somebody who, you know, is someone like many of us who I think wants to see peace around the world. I don't know how we get to these places when we're inheriting the legacies of so many bad decisions based off of dick measuring from the last 100 years or so. And it's just like, you know, we know what happens when there's a world war. We know the sacrifices that people make, but there always seems to be this thing like the collective memory forgets, you know, like just like we have people forgetting what happened, you know, to one nation, and now they're doing the same to another. It seems like that game never ends. So would I like to say, yeah, sure, we shouldn't get involved? I would, but is that the best position to be in? Probably not. I think we probably will have to get involved, and maybe that'll at least prevent China from doing this. But I think the reason China's pushing this now is because the United States, in my opinion, has never really been weaker militarily. I mean, look at who's leading our Pentagon. I'm sorry. I would be, if I was China, I would be like, look, this is probably our chance to do something here, because United States is spread real thin right now and they're led by a bunch of idiots. So if we're going to do something, let's do it now. That's probably the thinking. I don't think people in this country realize how much the rest of the country, the world, excuse me, is laughing at us from a military perspective.
There is so many different things here. I'm going to try to keep it real brief here, because I'm not going to be here for a 2-hour kind of like TED talk on all things China, because this is actually a pretty complicated situation, unfortunately.
Yes.
I personally believe that the United States, it's none of their business. You should go look. If you're not familiar, please go look at a map. See the distance between mainland China and Taiwan. It's like how far away Cuba is to Florida. It's right there. The fact that we are going to fly across the world to try to aid Taiwan, to a country that's literally right, or to an island that's literally right next to China, I just think that it's just, and also we're going to be getting into a confrontation with the largest military in the world. They have the largest military in the world. They have the largest economy in the world. It feels like why would you overextend yourself this way? It doesn't make any sense to me. It does not make any sense to get into a confrontation with China when they could probably wipe us off the map if they wanted to. We're kind of thankful that probably that China hasn't gotten involved with their military all around the world the way that we have. But you take a look at the maps around the world of military bases, because most countries don't have military bases in other countries. We're kind of like the lone country that does that. But our bases are surrounding a lot of these countries that are trying to create this BRICS alliance, which I think a lot of people are not fully aware of. And these countries have said that they want to ditch the dollar. And I think that's really what this is all about. I think that's actually why we are seeing aggression towards Iran and Venezuela and Russia and China, the main proponents of trying to de-dollarize. And so now we keep finding ourselves embroiled in conflict with these countries. So I think that China does also have blood in the water. The United States is stretched thin right now, giving money to Ukraine, giving money to Israel, talking about wanting to invade Venezuela. They've always wanted to retake this island, so they've just been waiting for the right moment to do so. If the United States enters into a war with Venezuela, like Trump has been talking about he wants to do, I believe that China will actually go ahead and take Taiwan because they know that that'll be the moment to kind of go after it. So I feel like this is kind of inevitable that China is going to do this. I just hope that enough people here in America will raise enough hell to make it so untenable for Trump to send our troops in over there. Because in all honesty, we have no business being involved in that. That's just none of our business, like really. And that's where I hope everyone stays with it, because the United States has been getting involved in other countries' affairs for way too long, and that really needs to end.
So you have more of the isolationist light view.
You know what? It's imperialism light view. You know, that's how I think about it. Because, you know, at the end of the day, when you're talking about potentially getting into wars with other countries, and we are going to be sending, like, my younger brother went into the army and he had to go spend time over in Iraq. He saw time on a battlefield and some of his friends didn't come home.
Yeah.
If we are going to send our young people over to fight in some war, it has to be something that actually is, you know, providing security to our country, not making us more unsafe by being in places that we have no business being in. You know what? Taiwan doesn't want to be a part of China. I feel for them, but why should people here have to go die for that cause? I'm not with it. I'm really not. And I think that so many of these things have led to us actually being more unsafe, you know, because we keep meddling in things that have nothing to do with us.
Well, I think that's the whole point, right? Is to keep us unsafe and on our toes, because that's how the war machine makes money. I mean, that's the whole point. Yeah. No one's supposed to ever feel safe, because if we felt safe, we couldn't sell weapons all around the world, right? I mean, it's like, that's what I mean. It's like we've inherited this mess. Like we can't unpull these threads in a way. So I hear you. I totally hear you. And I agree with you to an extent. I just don't know if that's going to be like the way this goes, because it never seems to go that way. I don't know.
It won't go that way. But I think the reason why I'm framing this whole argument the way that I am is because when these things start, there is a moment here back home where everyone has the opportunity to either praise it and go, rah, rah, America, or they start condemning it. Right. And the more that we condemn it, the less fertile ground there is, the more that, you know, like the people in Washington feel like what they're doing is untenable. They can't continue to do it. And that's really what I want here in this moment. I want everyone to recognize how toxic this all is. And so if this does happen, when it does happen, that we all scream the way we should. Because I don't think, because if we are silent, if we are kind of accepting of it, it will continue, it'll prolong, it'll keep going. And that's what I want to avoid at all costs.
And I think that's why we have these conversations, you and I, because we're trying to bring topics to the forefront that maybe are getting swept under the rug, that need that acknowledgement. Before we move on, I just want to ask you one more question. Do you think this will play out in the way that it is right now with the Ukraine, in the sense that we're not like on the front lines with Ukrainians, but Trump or whoever, Biden before him, was providing supportive weaponry, etc.? Do you think that's what will happen with Taiwan a step before they were to put boots on the ground? Because I do think that would be a stretch because of public opinion. But us giving them money or supportive weaponry, what do you think will happen there? Do you think that's more likely?
When you look at the history of what's happened, like post-Cold War, like
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say post Cold War, post like World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Proxy wars are the only ways that these things happen
Yeah,
because a hot war between two nuclear powered nations, everyone's been afraid of for good reason,
and they should be.
for decades now.
Yeah,
So I think that's also the reason why you don't see any American troops on the ground in Ukraine, is
right.
because
Exactly.
a direct confrontation between the United States and Russia means nuclear powered, countries going at each other. I don't think you'll see any American troops, seriously on the ground. But the question is, you don't know the other side of it. China would know the same way Russia knows right now that the United States is directly like supplying weapons, directly, giving intel, so on and so forth. That is technically being at war with the country,
Yeah.
whether it's direct or proxy. So if China wanted to escalate from there, and then the real question is, what will we do about it? Because from everything that I've seen over the years, their military is more advanced than ours is,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a lot more people um, as far as military personnel than we do. It honestly, with how stretched thin we are, because we're trying to be imperialists all over the world, I
Mm-hmm.
think if China actually wanted to go to the war with the United States, it wouldn't end well for us.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. And I just feel like, once again, what are the de-escalation tactics, not the escalation tactics, but they
Leaving
don't
it
care
alone.
about those.
Leaving it alone.
They don't care about those. And I think that's the
Yeah.
problem here. It's like, once again, we have people running things that aren't listening to any of us or any of our concerns or our realities. We're like, when do we
Yeah.
get healthcare? When do we get a living wage? When do we get housing? You guys are over there playing cowboy again in another
Yeah.
place that we don't need to be dealing in. So no, I think it's just a total shit show, Desmond. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's unfortunately where we're at. And speaking of shit shows, there's
Yeah.
not just those happening internationally, but they're happening right here in America too. And I have to say,
Right.
this upsets me, this next piece, because I really do like Governor Tim Walz, and I don't understand his motivations here. And so I'm curious what you think. And before I start, if anybody is just joining us, I'm Natalie Bencivenga. I'm with Desmond Price of Independent Thought. We kicked things off talking about the No Kings rally happening in October later this month. And Mike Johnson's he's very upset about it. And then we just discussed some international politics around the war in Ukraine and Russia. And now we just finished up with Taiwan and a conversation around that with China. And now we're moving back into the United States to round things out with a story focused on BlackRock. So if you're just joining us, you missed a lot, and we're happy you're here for part 4. Okay, so this commentary comes from the Minnesota Reformer, and it's titled, "Does Governor Walz stand with Minnesotans or with BlackRock?" And the subtitle says, "If Minnesota Power falls into BlackRock's hands," Minnesota Power is their electricity, "higher bills, less accountability, and broken promises could be a part of the governor's legacy." Now, as governor, Governor Tim Walz has passed a range of progressive policies to benefit the people of Minnesota, including the state's landmark law requiring carbon-free power by 2040. But if the governor's own Public Utilities Commission signs off on Wall Street giant BlackRock's attempted takeover of Alete, which is one of their utility companies, and Minnesota Power, the decision could undercut his legacy. All 5 of the Public Utilities commissioners are Walz appointees. A Department of Commerce representative, part of his administration, has seemingly been shown to be communicating with a handful of clean energy groups. But at the most recent PUC hearing, the commissioner, Audrey Patridge, a Walz appointee and former employee of one of those groups, gave them a platform to speak in support of BlackRock's proposed deal, while requests from ordinary Minnesotans were ignored. This was after an independent investigation found that one of these very clean energy groups are now backing the BlackRock takeover, have accepted industry-linked funding, including money raised at a fundraiser from a private equity firm buyer. Now, given these actions, Walz's appointees are tilting the process towards BlackRock instead of the public that they are serving. And for Indigenous communities, accusations of BlackRock's record on Indigenous issues offer a troubling preview of what's to come. there's so many issues here with what's going on, but I just don't understand why we keep giving so much power to these private equity firms, and why are we giving away our electricity, our utilities, all of these things that are supposed to be publicly owned to spaces like BlackRock, and why the hell do our elected officials keep supporting this? Let's just start there with your initial thoughts.
Our public officials keep supporting this because they support whatever they're told to support. Okay, sorry. Let me back
okay.
up here a little
From
bit.
who? Who's telling them, Desmond?
BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, these giant firms in New York that have literally trillions of dollars of assets.
Trillions. Yeah.
Not an exaggeration. Trillions of dollars of assets.
Mm-hmm.
They, Natalie, I had a friend tell me years ago that it was time to get rid of capitalism. And I thought that was a really radical thing to say. And as the years go by, I'm starting to question how radical it was. Because here's the thing. So these corporations, these giant equity firms, they have more money than you will ever need in several lifetimes. And yet they just want more. Yeah. So it's not enough that they have trillions of dollars of assets. It's not enough that they are pulling in billions in revenue and in profits every year. It's not enough. They need more. And that is what's sickening to me. And so I imagine that the reason why Wall signs off on this, or anybody else does, and I'm not giving him any excuses here because this is horrific, and I'd hope that people would lay into him for this, whether they like him or not.
Right.
Is because you feel like when it comes to some of these like giants that you feel like you have no power.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the kind of people that if you're able to make billions in dollars, like in profits, and I want to pair this with the story right now going on with JD Vance, who's trying to erode the little protections that we have left for there being like legalized bribery in our political system, trying to take what is Citizens United and actually like crater it even further. So these corporations can just buy politicians. Governor Walz can sit on a platform and say, I'm not going to pass this, and then actually have BlackRock throw so much money at his state house that they can actually override any veto that he might have because they essentially buy out the entire state house. So what kind of battles do you want to pick after a while? This is a story that's indicative of just how corrupt our system is, because no public utility should ever be owned by any private entity. I would love to see a law at the federal level, which would probably never happen, but I would love to see it to where no private entity can own any public utility in all 50 states. Period. End of story. Let's just nip this right in the bud. But as of right now, that's not the case. And it really should be, because BlackRock, I don't care if it's BlackRock or name any other private equity firm, corporation, whoever, no private entity should be able to own a public utility. No, our water supply, our electricity, you name it. It shouldn't be that way. And the fact that it is just incredibly just dangerous as far as I'm concerned.
And I just want to add too, that it says ratepayers, consumer advocates, watchdog groups, environmental organizations, and industrial customers have opposed this acquisition, arguing that it would cause rates to skyrocket and compromise reliability. And to your point, I have always said that capitalism should only be for our wants and never for our needs, because this is exactly why. If we need clean water, if we need electricity, if we need, natural gas, at least for right now, whatever our sources of energy are, those are needs. Those are needs. And the fact that a private company could come in and that it could cause our rates to skyrocket, it could compromise the reliability and the quality of the product, because capitalism is a race to the bottom in every situation, because you're trying to milk as much profit out of everything. So you cut corners wherever you can because your shareholders are expecting exponential growth infinitely, which is insanity. You know what else has exponential growth infinitely is cancer. Right? So, yeah, right? I mean, that's just the truth.
A virus. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like we are living, I keep saying this to people, we are living in end stage capitalism. We have entered the cannibalistic stage where it is eating itself. We are eating ourselves at this point, all because the billionaire class has bought all of our media up over the last 30 years and has convinced us that we too may someday be a billionaire. So therefore, you can't tax the billionaire class because you might be one and you don't want to get taxed. I mean, that's literally what this boils down to, is whose message has really sunk into the American psyche. It's this idea of rugged individualism for us, but corporate welfare and subsidies for them. They get all the profit. We take on all the risk. We take on all the responsibility. The taxpayers are going to end up dealing with this catastrophe just like we're dealing with it in healthcare, right? So privatizing a need, and healthcare would fall under that too, of course. Privatizing a need, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And yet we keep allowing these vultures to pick at this carcass known as like our country at this point. And it pisses me off because it's going to be like these indigenous communities we're talking about. They're going to be hit the hardest. Communities of color are going to be hit the hardest. And working people, working class communities will be hit the hardest, of course. But everybody will feel the effects of this. And to your point, with Governor Walz being the one in the driver's seat, yeah, sure, they could circumvent him. Yeah, sure, they could, go try to go over his head or bribe their way out of it. But he should be standing against this very fervently.
Absolutely.
That's the point. I understand an elected official, one can't fix it all, but they need to be standing on the right side of history. And I think that's why it's really important that we call out truth to power in all cases. And clearly, I also want people to understand, at least on our show and from our perspective, the things that we've done individually and together, we are not in a cult. Like if a governor of a blue state that, has done some good things is acting a fool, we're calling that out too. It has nothing to do with party. It has to do with right or wrong. It's not right or left. I get tired of that too.
Yeah, very tired of that. If you go back, I know that people won't do this, but if you wanted to, there is years of evidence of how I felt about the Biden administration, the Democratic Party, underneath on my account. So, something that I very much believe in. When it comes right down to it, the Democratic Party is also very cozy to power. It is part of the real problem that we have and why it doesn't really function as a true opposition party, because they are beholden to these corporations the same way the Republicans are, maybe to a lesser degree, but it's still enough to be corrosive. And I think until we find a way to get different people in this party in leadership or just create a new party altogether, like we are going to be seeing this cycle just be repetitive at a certain point, I mean, I wish that Governor Walz would stand up for this, and maybe with enough pressure, he will.
I hope.
He seems like the kind of person who wants to stay involved in politics. He's made a little bit of a name for himself. And, I think if enough people kind of got in his face about this, maybe he would sing a different song.
I really hope he does. And, as we wrap this up, I think it is just important, once again, to acknowledge where we are in this moment in time, and also to realize there are no perfect candidates. There are no perfect elected officials. Purity tests, I think, are killing the left in a very different way, because, if one person doesn't align with every single thing that you like, you sit it out. We got to stop doing that. We've got to start thinking about the bigger picture here and definitely hold our elected officials accountable. But I think we can do that and still stay engaged in the political process. That's personally also another thing just to keep in mind here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah. Ron Elliott, thank you for sharing a comment. He says the governors should band together, strengthen numbers. I agree. I think the more, like Desmond said, the more that we put pressure on them and the more that they feel like they can stand together against these kinds of acquisitions, I do think that there is strength in that as well.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, I think that our support is the last real bit of power that we have, and they need it. And so I think we have to leverage that.
100%. Okay, Desmond, we didn't get to do this last time we were on. So if you have just a few minutes.
I have a few minutes because you won't believe how angry I got last night.
I know. So everyone, Desmond and I, we were trying to do this thing a few months ago because everything is so intense. And we know
Yeah.
that everything is so intense. And we understand that everybody is at their limit mentally.
Yeah.
So stay with us for the next few minutes as we dive into what we're watching as our sort of comfort shows right now, and or things that maybe aren't as comforting as we thought that they would be. Halloween edition. And the reason I say that is because what you watched recently, I would categorize that as kind of a scary horror suspense,
Oh, I
kind
haven't
of
told you about it
creepy.
yet.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Parasite. No?
Oh, no.
Oh.
There's another one happened just last night.
Oh.
I haven't got a chance to talk about it yet. I
Oh.
haven't posted about it yet.
This is like breaking news right now. Okay,
Yep.
tell us, what are you watching right now?
Okay, you want me to go first?
Go for
Okay.
it.
Have you seen Get Out?
Yes.
You have.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you not like it?
For everyone here, my partner and I, we bought a poster. We bought a poster. It's like a little scratch-off poster. It comes with 100 movies on it. As you watch a movie, you scratch it off. It has like a little picture behind it. It's just a fun little thing that we are doing. So we're watching all 100 of these movies. They were pre-selected for us. Last night was movie number 38 in our list so far. We're kind of like going through them at random. And we watched Get Out.
Yes.
She had seen it before. I had not. So this is my first time seeing Get Out, I guess, 8 years after the fact. Okay. It is sold to me. It is sold to me as a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it claims to be.
Yeah. Jordan Peele, right?
Mm-hmm. Jordan Peele's the director. This is one that he got like famous off of. Obviously, he's in a couple other movies since then. I heard that Us was also really good. Natalie, how did you feel about Get Out when you saw it? Like, how do you feel about the movie?
I mean, I'm always entertained by your take on movie reviews, because sometimes I'm totally agreeing with you, and then other times I'm like, wow, that's an interesting reason for disliking that, which is the whole point, because movies it's silly. This is the fun part. I've seen this movie a few times. I've watched it alone. I've watched it with my stepson. He loves Jordan Peele. I liked it. I thought of it as sort of he was trying to be a little, Jordan Peele's interesting. He's trying to be a little Hitchcocky. He's trying to be a little M. Night Shyamalan. He has like his own flavor. It's got a comic book energy to it at times. It lost me at the end. I really thought it was kind of this interesting take on many different societal issues. And then at the end, I felt like it kind of just, it fell into a lot of tropes for me. But I understand why people enjoyed it. I understand why people resonated with them. I thought the acting was very good. But for me, it was a very uneven film.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say, because I really want to hear what you felt. Because I can feel you're unhappy.
I've been I created my own little rating list, Natalie, to do this. I know you did. I've told you about this. And, I rate everything that I've been watching the last 10 years on IMDb. I have yet to give any movie a 10.
I've been waiting. I haven't seen a 10. I haven't seen anything above an 8, I don't think.
And I've yet to give anything a 1. Okay?
Oh, no. Really? You're giving this a 1?
My first ever 1-star movie.
I am dying
right
now.
My first ever 1-star. I hated this movie so much.
Tell me what you hated.
I literally despise everything about it.
Oh my gosh.
I was like ranting for maybe a 45 minutes straight after the movie was over. I could not stand how bad this movie was.
Really? Okay, tell us.
Oh my God. So first of all, Jordan Peele, maybe in his heart of hearts, he thought that he was trying to do commentary on Black people and their experiences with relentless amounts of microaggressions in and around white people.
I think that's what he was trying to do. Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's what he was trying to do. And I have been in those situations many times in my life, and it is really humiliating, and it is annoying, and it does make you very angry. And I understand why you would want to put that onto the screen. I think that, as a Black man trying to put that onto the screen, though, I think if you're trying to shift the public narrative about what is acceptable in society, he could have had his character, I don't know, push back on any of those moments. Instead, he had his, Black lead character essentially just be like, oh no, it's no big deal. Oh no, it's okay. Just very docile, very kind of whatever about it. I did not like that whatsoever. I thought that was a really bad image to put out there because you're almost like essentially like reinforcing it. And nowhere in the movie do you have your black lead talk about how problematic this was. But also, more importantly, in this moment, the movie wasn't scary, Natalie. It wasn't scary. The first jump scare in the movie is actually like Georgina like walking through the kitchen, and I'm sorry, like she lives there. Why wouldn't she be walking through the house? I'm like, it's one thing with like a horror movie like Michael Myers or Freddy or something like that. Like you see a jump scare, it's like a person who's not supposed to be there is in your house. She lives in the house. Why is it a jump scare, Jordan Peele? At no point in this movie am I actually scared. At no point. Why is it a horror movie? Like
sure.
in all honesty, and then just so many different things. Also, the main actor. I came to read some trivia afterwards that he was cast because he could actually cry on command. I'm sorry, I've seen this guy in other movies. He's not a good actor.
Okay,
you
weren't feeling it. You were not into this.
He is actually a terrible actor. The whole time I was just like,
loving
why is this guy your lead? There's so many great black actors in Hollywood. This guy sucks. Like, I'm sorry. He is just very bad.
I love a Desmond hot take on the movie. I really do. I was not prepared, everyone. I thought we were going to be talking about Parasite, but this is way better. This is way better.
No. Like the only thing that even like kept me from like, I almost wanted to give it a 0 out of 10. Like that's how much I hated this movie. But I was happy at the end that he at least got up and killed everybody. I was happy about this. Sorry, spoilers. Oh well, too late.
Guys,
now
it's fine. It's old.
So many different plot holes here. Like at one point he like gets up and shows he has like the cotton in his ears that he like pulls out to show like why he didn't get hypnotized. How did he put the cotton in his ears, Natalie?
Where did he get it?
Where did he was tied to the chair. And if he was able to put the cotton in his ears, why couldn't he have gotten out of the chair now?
These are fair questions. These are the fairest questions. I agree.
Oh my God. And also you're talking about like he's showing like rightfully like his like black friend who would be like, oh, you got to get out of there. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, don't go there in the first place. There are certain things that black people wouldn't do in a lot of these scenarios. And I just can't help that he almost like was like making our black character feel more white. No offense, but like constantly falling into these like traps
I know I'm white. It's okay.
That you normally wouldn't fall into if you had any common sense. And so I don't know. I'm actually going to save myself here because I went on this rant for about like 45 minutes last night with my partner. And so I feel bad. She told me to keep going.
I love it.
She was entertained by it. But I actually felt bad after like 20 minutes. I was like, no, let me stop. And she was like, no, get it all out.
Just like let it simmer, like say it. No, I mean, I think that's the point though, is like you're supposed to have reactions to things that you watch for better, for worse. That's art, right?
It is. I couldn't get over the fact that I was expecting a horror movie. And I don't even like horror movies, but I was expecting that. I did not get that. The plot just seemed so lame to me. There were things that were brought up that seemed to have no meaning whatsoever. Why did we hit that deer early in the movie? And then you flash back to it in his dream. It ended up having no recourse whatsoever. It had like no meaning. Just like the whole like, hey, we're doing this to take over people's bodies. And he asked the obvious question in the movie, like, why black people? And the answer was like, I don't know, maybe because of fashion, maybe because they want your body. I want your eyes. It's just so weird, so awkward. And then like, okay, the two people who were the groundskeeper and the maid were their grandparents. Why do you have your grandparents as your servants?
I know.
Why are your grandparents your house servants?
These are actually fair your grandparents.
Like, why are they yours? Okay. I can't.
Desmond put on his thinking cap before he watched this movie, and the results were not great for him. I know.
Okay, it's so bad. It
was bad. Okay. Guys, he didn't like Get Out. In case you've just joined us, we've shifted gears and we've moved into our I'm mental health moment.
I really am. It is number 38 out of 38. It is the bottom of the list. I put it below The Graduate. So
I know, and you really hated The Graduate, which we diverge on that one, but that's okay.
The Graduate is
that's okay. Movie. I love The Graduate, but that's okay. These are different things.
It's okay. It's okay because I have watched some good movies recently, so like my top 10 is still good.
Yeah.
So City of God, people. A lot of people haven't seen that movie. Good movie.
Yeah. It's hard to watch,
Yeah.
but it's good.
Very.
Well, now that we're done with that, your rant, I'm going to share with you. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm planning on it. So
Yeah.
for Halloween,
Yeah.
spooky season, as I call it, I'm not a fan of horror films. I don't like watching women being murdered and
No.
abused. I don't like watching people in general, but in particular. So I'm also not into ghosts. I don't mind ghosts. I don't like when it gets to the devil exorcism level of stuff. That bothers
No
me. So
poltergeists or
oh,
exorcists.
I've seen them all. I've seen them all.
Yeah.
I just don't like them. I liked the
That's fair.
Poltergeist much more than the Exorcist. Still scares me to this day. I should never have watched it when I was 12. It gave me nightmares for like 10 years. But here we are. I am heading back into this idea of classic horror films
Okay.
because I want to go back to some really old film this year. And every year I try to do like a theme. So this year I'm going to be watching Rebecca. I really want to watch old
Oh,
Hitchcock film. A
okay.
lot of people haven't seen Rebecca. Rebecca is one of
I have
his
not.
it's one of his earliest. I'm just going to give you a snippet from Wikipedia. It's from 1940. It's an
Oh,
American
wow.
romantic. I know. It was his first American film, too. It's a romantic psychological thriller. It was based off of a novel. And it stars Laurence Olivier as the brooding aristocratic widower Maxim de
Yeah.
Winter and Joan Fontaine as the young, never named woman, which I think is interesting, who becomes his wife. It's very gothic. It's shot in black and white. His first wife, Rebecca, dies before the film, so we never see her. But he's kind of obsessed with her. So you constantly are getting this feeling that she's around. And then there's this creepy housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers. And basically it's just about their relationship, but this constant feeling that this woman is somewhere there, this ghost, or perhaps she's come back to life. And Danvers says that she'll never take the place of Rebecca. And then it just starts to become more and more and more escalated as the new wife becomes more and more paranoid about what is going on. And I won't give away what happens at the end, but
Yeah.
it's a very psychological film. And this was the kind of film that I loved growing up as a kid. I think because my grandma also loved Hitchcock. And so we would watch a lot of the old Hitchcock films like Psycho and the Birds and Rear Window, all
Yeah.
of them. And some are better than others, but there's something really, I don't know, visceral about a film like a Hitchcock film that doesn't tell you everything. It never shows or reveals everything. And so much of it is going on in your head, which is what I think makes it so scary. So
Right.
I'm looking forward to rewatching Rebecca, which I probably have not seen since I was a kid. I was probably like 12 or 13, and it really terrified me when I saw it. So I haven't watched it, not for any other reason than, one of those things that you kind of just forget about it, but it is back in my rotation this year. So that is what I'm going to be watching, and I'll report back when we do this next week what I thought of it as a much older person.
I am interested. I also, on our list, we have Psycho on the list. I haven't
Oh,
seen it. I haven't seen it before. I haven't seen any
oh,
Hitchcock movie.
really?
Really.
Psycho is, I mean, it's the most quintessential, but I actually
Yeah.
think some of his other films are even better, but it's a good film. I mean, it's very
Yeah.
good.
I've
Yeah.
heard nothing but good things about it, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
that it's a better watch than Get Out was.
It's not going to be worse, I can tell you that. But it's funny. I think it'll be interesting when you see Psycho.
Yeah.
Since you haven't watched any Hitchcock, I think you'll see how Jordan Peele definitely was trying to pull inspiration from some of the classic horror film.
Yeah.
Whether he did it successfully or not, I don't know. But I definitely think Hitchcock was a muse of his for sure. Hitchcock was a very strange dude, by the way. I don't know if people know much about him.
You probably would have to be to make a good horror movie, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he was a weirdo. He was a real weirdo.
I believe it.
And he was obsessed with Grace Kelly, too, but that's like a whole other thing.
I am interested to see this movie. I hope that it is good. I hope it's better than, because Get Out, because they never explained why the flash brings them out of it, Natalie. But the flash of the camera, they never explained.
No, you're not wrong. That's fair. There's a lot of things we are left unknowing.
Okay. But no, I hope that the movie is good. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about Rebecca when we come back next week. I
Yeah.
will probably have at least 2 more that we will watch between now and then. So I'm assuming that one of them will be Green Book. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh,
You
I'll
know,
be curious what you think of that.
I love Mahershala Ali. I really do.
I do
So
too.
I am interested to see this movie because I haven't seen it before.
I'm going to reserve my comments, but a lot of people had a lot of big feelings about this film, and I'll be
Okay.
curious what your feelings are about it.
All right. Interesting. We have someone in the
Yeah.
comments saying blondes here.
Yes, because Hitchcock was obsessed with blondes, but in
Oh,
particular,
okay.
he was like extra obsessed with Grace Kelly, who he had star in a lot of his film, and she talks about him kind of following her around a lot, and
Gotcha.
he was a
Okay.
character.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We will have more movie topics next time around. We are on a binge right now, so I post
Yeah.
all of my reviews on Instagram, people.
Yes,
So
they're worth checking out.
I can't go into depth with them the way I would like to, like I can on here. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to rant in this
Always.
moment because Get Out sucked.
We needed a little levity. We had talked about very intense topics, so it's good to
I
have a little levity at the end of this, you know?
yes, and I'm sorry. I just as a black person,
Don't
I was
apologize.
embarrassed that another black person
Oh
made that
God.
movie. I'm so serious.
I just can't wait to see your reaction to some of these other films. And this is going to be an interesting next couple of weeks, everybody.
Yeah.
That is for
Okay.
sure.
All right. That's the last thing. I promise.
That's the last
Okay.
thing, but we appreciate everybody that tuned in so much. So thank you for joining us for another edition of us doing whatever this is at this point between commentary around topics that are important and also our comfort shows. I'm Natalie Bencivenga. Obviously, you guys know Desmond Price. Please check us out, subscribe to our Substacks. And until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.